The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bit by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there, and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is André Mayette, your podcast host. Big thanks to Uka the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers, and big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in to another show. Today's guest is Dan Price, creator of a scrappy little indie book called Bigfoot Knows Karate. Now, that is the title. That is also the content. Bigfoot does, in fact, know karate, and he used it to battle a cavalcade of interesting characters, one of which is called Kung Fu Thulu, which that name alone is worth the price of admission. Now, Dan has 3 books out under this title. The first 2 parts of the main story, and then sort of a side issue with a backstory that takes place in feudal Japan. But the Kickstarter is out now for the 3rd issue. We'll have information about that in the post. And also, Dan and I discuss it during the conversation. Now, Dan was very free with his time, very open with his story. We get into some stuff in this interview, some deep stuff, which I don't think he expected to talk about. But the point of the show is to kind of get into your life, your creative process, all the things that have led you to this new project and to being the creator you are today. And Dan was free with that information and not at all candid about some of the darker parts of his history. So I really appreciate him being open about it and bringing this great interview. So I hope you enjoy it as well. It has been a few weeks since we've had a new episode. I did pride myself on going quite a while without having to take any breaks and having a great amount of episodes. But, you know, sometimes you have a bunch of people fall through. Life gets busy. It's tough to keep up with it. I will try to not have to do that again for a long while. I endeavor to do so. But, you know, other podcasts take hiatus. So, you know, why can't I? Why can't I? But we are back, and it looks like we have enough interviews to keep us going for quite a while. So, you know, in the can, nothing's recorded except for this one so far. But there are about 6 or 7 more scheduled in the next few weeks. So we should have lots of content for the next couple months. And hopefully going on. Davin, our guest acquisition officer, has been doing a great job getting guests. And I thank him for that. He's also being a huge supporter of the show. And you can tune in to our sister podcast, which is X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show, where Davin and I talk about the X-Men cartoons. And we are on X-Men Evolution right now, which is an interesting little jaunt through, in my eyes so far, a lesser series than X-Men 96. I'm sorry if you love it. I'm very sorry. But I guess the original X-Men series just seemed like such a love letter to the comics, and this one seems like its own thing, heavily mired in sort of the theme, I guess, the vibe of the show, the movies, and yeah, I'm not resonating with me so much, but I do keep hearing it really picks up once Apocalypse gets there and stuff like that happens in season 3. So hopefully that's coming, and we'll get into that. But it's a great show. We have a lot of fun talking about it. They're very entertaining. We have guests, and yeah, Davin and I mix it up and have a really good time. So you can go tune into that too. But what you should really tune into is this episode right now. I assume you want to. You're listening to it, so. But thank you once again for being on the show. This show has been a dream of mine for a long time, and to see it come to fruition and to see people actually bring it up to me on the street at conventions and say, "Oh, it's cool, you're still doing that." I tune in. You know, it's lovely. I love it, and I really love these conversations, these talks, and just talking about comics makes me happy, and I get to do it kind of as a side thing, which is always a blast. So thank you for making that dream a reality, and thanks for tuning in. So here it is, my conversation with creator of Bigfoot Knows Karate, Dan Price. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you. I love talking to people that are out there beating the drum. Like, I've talked to people that have, you know, been like big comic people. I've talked to people doing their indie comics, and I love talking to the indie comics people because they're scrappy. They're like, you know, it takes a lot of, yeah, exactly. They've had to overcome a couple hills to get to where they're at, and they've always done, and they're out there doing unique, cool stuff. The book, of course, is Bigfoot Knows Karate, which, as I mentioned when we first started, I love when I hear these concept books where it's like, I think when I opened the first page and I saw a character called the Kung Fu Thulu, I was like, this sounds like a name that eventually worked backwards into a concept. Like he came up with the name.
Right. Well, hey, you nailed it. There you go. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing was kind of retrofitted, the whole story. I mean,
Yeah.
it started with just a title in the first place, Bigfoot Knows Karate. And then when it came down to, excuse me, when it came down to finding a big bad, my co-writer, Casey, was like, well, he needs a big bad. Kung Fu Thulu. I was like, I'll have sketches for you tomorrow, and it was like, and it was funny how it all kind of came together. But yeah, I think sometimes the story starts with the character or a name and just kind of builds out from there. I know it does in my writing experience, but like I've written a lot of indie comics that are like, humor based, satire, Family Guy on steroids turned up to 11 type stuff, and so it's always like, what's the weirdest name I can come up with, and like let's go put something together based on that. So you're not wrong, I mean, in Kung Fu Thulu's Casey Allen, my co-writer, he was the person with the inception of the name Kung Fu Thulu, and I just took it and went with the visuals with it. So great collaboration yet again between,
Yeah.
the scrappy indie guys, and I love that. I love that description as scrappy because that's what it feels like some days, trying to get out there and get your stuff seen. It's a challenge, and you got to have Johnson and Tom O'Leary over here ready to go at any moment's time. So
I very much appreciate
I'm
that
ready.
reference.
Yes, thank you.
That's awesome. No, well, that's it, right? Even the collaborative nature, but also like your people, like, when you work for a big company, you gotta have a marketing team that covers all of your marketing. You get to make your book and deal
Sure.
with your editor, and that's about it. When you're out there on the front lines of the indie world, you're literally doing everything yourself, from
Yeah.
inception, creation, coloring, drawing, arting, getting it printed, and then trying to market it. Like, you're basically a marketing team within a comic book team. And I don't know if you know other comic book artists, but artsy types are normally the most organized. So to approach something on a level that takes like marketing, especially with the crowdfunding and the way you guys are getting this out there, it certainly takes a lot of work on top of just the everyday amount of hard work to make a regular comic book.
Well, this is all true. Everything you said, truth, facts, completely through and through. I'm working at an advantage. I will say that my day job, I'm a creative director for marketing and advertising group.
Oh,
I've been working in marketing and advertising, graphic design, all of that for over 25 years, man. I mean, like, so there's some things that I have I'm just used to doing, and it took a while to get used to marketing myself. That was a challenge. Okay, because I mean, it's really not easy to talk about myself. It's much easier to talk about a product or a service or, a person. But so this, I have that little bit of an advantage. And then, recently I joined up with Chris Saloff and Drew Lenhart and Dennis Valencia, and we formed up Homebrew Comics. And so, and what's cool about Homebrew is we're an indie publisher. We're working on the titles that we have in place right now. My Bigfoot Knows Karate, Chris's book Crit, and then Dennis's Celestial Night and Drew's Caspian Porter. And we're putting our books out there out into the universe and using each other's areas of expertise to help each other out. What's great is because Drew has such a strong understanding of the digital distribution system, the online stores, all that stuff, the websites, all of that. That's Drew's area of expertise, and that he's handling all of that for all of us now, and running our newsletter and things like that. Whereas I'm doing the marketing, working with, getting the messaging out there, giving information out to Drew that he puts into the newsletter and things like that. But, also the graphic design and stuff like that. So for all the different campaigns that we're running right now, Chris has been working on the physical distribution side, which we're going to be entering in October. The catalogs will go out in July, and then we'll be, hopefully everything goes smoothly, fingers crossed, and all of that. We'll be in stores in your local comic store come October.
awesome.
And then Dennis working up our online presence, and we're, putting together our upcoming Whatnot store. So it's really incredible that, I met these guys on Instagram. We've known each other for a few years. I've gotten to meet three out of four of us have seen each other face to face at Heroes Con Baltimore, things like that. And and all of us are very driven creators. It's not easy to have the artsy type, as you put it, make that cross the chasm, so to speak, into the marketing world. And because the last thing I ever want to do is make a project and have it like live in a void, out in a vacuum where nobody gets to see it. I want the world to get to ingest this thing. We worked hard, me, Casey, all the guys at Homebrew, everybody I know in the indie comic scene, they're all working their tushes off, man. And so it's great to see a project, cross that chasm, make it out there and get into the zeitgeist, so to speak, at least on the indie comic level. People are talking about it and going, hey man, did you read, X? And you're like, yeah, I read X and X was awesome. It's cool. And so yeah, there's a lot going on, it's like spinning plates on like Ed Sullivan's show back in the day type thing. That's a
Yeah,
really old reference. Like I must
yeah.
be 80 to make that reference, but you know what I'm saying? But it's like that's what it feels like sometimes.
I actually think
And
I said that
to
exact
have
same thing
just a few
today.
less.
I'm pretty sure I used
Oh, hey,
that
cool. Hey, we
reference
got.
today. My wife asked me what I was up to, and I said, the usual spinning plates. I said, so yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
absolutely.
We're both 80-year-olds.
Absolutely. Just spinning plates.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. I'll see you at the retirement community. It's gonna be
yeah.
awesome.
We'll play some
Yeah, we'll
shuffleboard.
share pudding. Yeah. It'll be
Yeah. Well, where did I guess you mentioned you don't like talking about yourself, but I mean that's what we're here to do. So
sure.
where did you grow up?
Um, I grew up in Houston.
Mm.
I grew up in Houston, Texas. I am a native Texan. My folks, on the other hand, are from London, England.
Oh
And
wow.
so, yeah,
How
so
did
they
that
moved to
happen?
the
How
States.
did that...
Yeah, they moved to the States in the mid 60s. My father was in banking, and so his work took him there, out to, what was it? Cheyenne, Wyoming, of all places. They
Wow.
had my sister there, Las Cruces, New Mexico, my other sister, El Paso, Texas. They had me settled in Houston. And I was raised in the Houston area, man. Go Astros. And, long live the Taqueria del Sol. I mean, these are great things in the city of Houston, aside from the fact that my mother lives there as well, who's also amazing and cool. So I grew up there, college at Sam Houston State University, about an hour and a half up the highway. And bounced around different parts of Texas, Dallas, Austin, Houston, Dallas, Austin, Houston. I don't know. I just was kind of around for a while. And I've been living in Austin for about since 2001, so 24 years. And I love it here. I mean, I really do. It's a cool town. It's always been treating me well. They say I keep Austin weird. We're trying. We're trying the
Oh,
best
I
we
always
can.
forget that's your
And
tagline. Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I
that's our
think. That's why.
tagline.
Yeah, that's what it was. There's something
Yeah.
about Austin that I was trying to
Yeah.
remember. That's what it was, and I love that.
Yeah.
As an aging
So
hipster myself, I love places that are keeping things weird and strange and doing all kinds of cool things. And Houston seems like a cool place doing that. So,
yeah,
um,
Austin, yeah, I dig it. And Houston is like, if you're a foodie, man, go check out Houston. It's so underrated because there's so much great grub in that town. It's too big for its own good, for my own good anyway. It's a
mhm.
very sprawled city, but man, there's some amazing food in that town. So it's always worth the check out. And I'm
Oh,
in town
fantastic.
to go find some great places to eat. But yeah,
What
um,
was school? Was that graphic design or
yeah, that
marketing?
was
Yeah.
originally graphic design, and then I switched my degree over to English actually with a creative writing influence, and so I graduated with an English degree with a studio art minor, and did it's funny how it all works out because I just kind of fell right back into graphic design once I went through that go find yourself phase. It was a good phase. I enjoyed it highly. I recommend it to everyone. Go find yourself. But
Like your personal little
well, I do.
Rumspringa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in a way, I wasn't ready quite yet to. I tried a couple of, career jobs that I just couldn't stand. I tried doing sales and all that stuff and, and just was not for me. It wasn't for me, but I was
It sounds
irritated
like it's
with,
paralleling my life because I'm a graphic designer as well. I went to school for that.
okay,
And there was a
so
period
you
where I
get
like
it.
managed a pharmacy for a couple of years because a friend asked me to, and it was like not at all what I would have enjoyed. Like after the 2 years were up, I'm like he was eking his way out, and the other guy that was there was like doing all these stuff, and I was like, can you just let me go? Because like, just lay me off, because I this is not for me anymore. Like sales is
Right.
soul crushing, man, soul
Oh
crushing.
God. It wasn't bad at it, but it just wasn't my thing,
Yeah, same.
I like the thrill of the kill.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing about me is like I love to go in and get a deal done.
Mm.
There's something about that, like I can taste it, there's the blood in my beard, that type of thing. So that was always exciting to me in sales, but like doing the paperwork and just dealing with the client relations stuff, no, I just wanted to go knock down contracts and keep on going. And so it's just, but for me, there's really only a couple things I'm built to do in this world. I can cook a little, I can do some art, I can do a little writing. That's about it, so I was built to be an artist or designer, writer, and part of what I do for my day job was well, the company I work for runs a magazine, so I actually run our magazine for us. So it's I find
Oh
a lot of
wow,
fun in that, and yeah, it's great. So
a print
I
magazine?
get to do print
Cool.
magazine. It's a long
Wow.
story. I'll tell you offline.
Sure.
And yeah, so it's really cool. I mean, I get to gotten to do a lot of cool things in my career, and so I just keep, getting to do comics on top of that. That's just been the dream, really. I mean, it really is.
Well, where did you discover comics? Like, where did that first come from?
I came up from my friend Carlos when we were 8. Well, I was 8, he was 9, and we went on our bikes to the stop and go down the street from our house and picked up comics. And then my dad saw me reading comics, and then he said, "Okay, so now we're collecting comics." So that's where the comic collection began, and we did that until we collected comics together until his passing, and then I can continue to read them, and I had the collection and.
Were you young
Eventually
when
the
he died,
collection.
or?
Yeah, I was about 12.
Oh,
So,
geez, that's terrible.
yeah, so I was ashamed, but I mean, I'm 48 now.
Yeah,
We've
you
had some
got.
time to heal. He's a good man. I miss him a
Was he
lot.
ill? Was it an illness, or I don't want to get too deep into it if it's a touchy
Uh,
subject, but
I mean, we can talk about this. No, he
sure.
committed suicide, man.
Oh,
So,
Jesus, dude. Oh my
yeah,
God.
I'm sorry, dude. I
Oh,
mean,
no,
you
it's
asked,
okay.
so
Hey, no, I
yeah,
mean,
you
it's
asked.
about
Yeah,
learning about your life and your creative process, and it's all
sure.
part of it, man. Like,
Yeah,
oh dear
man, he
God, I'm so
did. And
that's
yeah, oh, it is what it is, man. I mean, like, it was a lot of time to, grow and get over and heal, and accept and forgive. That was the biggest thing is to forgive it.
that seems like the
And
hardest one to get over.
absolutely,
Yeah,
that was about 10 years ago when I finally said, okay, we're done now.
yeah,
You may go.
yeah.
We're good here. And yeah, about 10, 11 years ago, where
Well,
I finally was ready to let go of that. And, and I'm very thankful to, several people in my life who helped me get to that point,
yeah,
where it's now, like now when I think of my dad, it's like, I wish he was around to see me, make comics. I wish he was around to meet his grandkids.
yeah.
I wish he was around to meet my wife, you know, that stuff. I wish he was around to see my mom happy. And I wish he would have been man enough to accept that too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, because, as I remember my father, I do not remember my father being a man who could handle to see his wife happy with another man.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So things work out in mysterious ways because I can tell you this much, if my parents were alive today, she would not have been a happy woman.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And you
that's
know what? And yeah, and she's been with her husband, well, her boyfriend for 30 years. They got married on their 31st
oh,
anniversary.
that's awesome.
Him in his like late 80s, hurt or early 80s, they finally decided to, you know, do it. And I said, "Mom, are you pregnant?" And she goes, "Dan, don't you dare." I'm like, all right. So, and she married a guy from Tennessee, so this
Lovely.
thick British accent versus this thick Nashville accent. It's awesome. It's like poetry and, a sonic poetry in the air
I
as they
love that.
bicker.
I love
Yeah, it's
that.
good shit.
Whenever you see the people from different countries that are married. I think it's lovely. I have friends
Yeah.
of mine, one's from England and one's from Scotland. They're not too far from each other, but they're married to one another. And I remember the idea of like watching them talk, and then but then going beyond that, like seeing like someone, with like a thick like in Canada, like a Newfoundland accent or something, with like someone from
Mhm.
like England or something is lovely.
Oh
It's so
yeah.
great. But the idea of like your
Oh,
two, like your dad and your mom just being super English wandering through Texas is kind of interesting as well. And it's been
you've probably never heard of a honky tonk called Gillies. There was a movie back in the 70s with John Travolta called The Urban Cowboy.
oh, I'm familiar.
And 70s are okay. So that honky tonk that he hung out at, my dad loved that place. He thought it
Really?
was so cool. Oh yeah. Hat, check shirt, Wrangler jeans, the boots, and he go, "Howdy, y'all!" Trying to do a
That's
Texas
hilarious.
accent with his thick Cockney accent. Not thick Cockney, but it
Yeah.
was still there. He worked a lot of it out, but it was still there.
Oh,
Anyway, so he loved that joint, man. So
no,
pretty
that's lovely.
funny stuff, honestly. I mean, you couldn't write that shit. You should ask me about
Well,
my mom's side. It's even crazier.
well,
Um,
we can do that if you want. What is?
I'm just messing with you. I'm
Well,
just
like
messing with you.
I love that he started you on that journey too. Like when you lose someone for
Yeah,
whatever reason. I know someone whose husband had committed suicide, and they were married. He was like a military guy. I'm sure that's probably where the root of his issues came from. But they had kids, everything, and it was like just insane. So like you
yeah.
can never kind of parse or figure out why. I mean, I guess you can figure out why someone does what they do, but it's one of those things that yeah, it's got to be hard to rectify. I never had anyone super close to my life that's happened to. I did have a friend growing up that he did do that, but we kind of drifted apart
Sure.
when that happened. And there's always there's a lot of to me it's a lot of fuck you. Like the idea that someone's saying like, "Oh, I'll show you. You hurt me, I'll show you. Now I'm going to hurt you forever by doing this." And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I felt like he had done. So because he had girlfriend broke up with him and this other thing, and I think that was mostly just to get back at her to like, and the idea that I don't know, you can hate someone so much or be so upset or so full of that much fuck you to someone else that you can do that. It's mind boggling.
Well,
But
I also think that, there are some people in the world who just they're done,
yeah,
and they
that's true.
know,
Yeah.
and it's like, it used to be a lot of anger for me. And then it was like a lot of, well, fucking do what you want,
Mhm.
and then it really boils down to now is, I guess, because I've known a few folks over the years who, close, like my father and,
Yeah.
or people who are just, just, just folks that are floating through the world that I've known. People. This is not an uncommon occurrence,
No.
unfortunately, and you come to a point where you almost normalize it
Mhm.
and just say, and which is sad, which is very sad to me. But it's like maybe they were just done. And how do you argue with that? And it's like, and as much as it hurts me, I wonder how much that hurt them to be just like, okay, and that's a weird acceptance thing. And I'm not suggesting this is a healthy way to think about it. I don't know. All I know is that my friends were hurting or my family member was hurting or whatever. And it's like, and they felt it so. No, I know this is a comic book podcast,
Yeah,
but
that's what it's
anyway,
about.
but it's like, I mean, I'll bring it to comics for a
Yeah.
second. There was dear friend of mine who was like a little brother to me. We met while I was working on my first independent comic, and he ended up coming on board as the artist on that project. And his name was Bon, and Bon was a fucking amazing person, an amazing artist, and a grumpy bastard, and I loved him for it. And he was like 11 years younger than me. We met at a free comic book day. No, 24-hour comic book day. It was 24-hour comic book day. We were both working on a 24-hour project.
Nice.
That's how we met. We were sitting at the same table. I was working on my book Latex Avenger. He was doing this other thing called Slicker in the Rain. Okay. And anyway, so Bon long story short, we became very close, traveled the state, going to convention to convention, sharing hotel rooms, just seeing it all. I mean, eating way too much pizza because he would refuse to eat anything else. I mean, he was a particular son of a bitch and always liked to listen to Top Gun. What was that song? Highway to the Danger Zone, right
Yeah.
before we went to a con. He had to listen to that. Very peculiar
Kenny
individual. Wouldn't
Loggins
eat a
Danger Zone.
hamburger.
Wow.
Yeah, he wouldn't. He
Wow.
wouldn't eat a hamburger. Ever because he couldn't stand the concept of ground meat. Weird dude. But anyway, but he did fall into a bad situation and eventually overdosed. Okay, and so it was, and like it was, and he had moved away from Austin at that point, so I was about 2 years removed from him when that all happened, and that I get upset about. You know what I mean? That I get upset about because there's so much promise, so much, and it was addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just a choice, it's a disease at that point. And my dear close friend, man, just ripped away by pills and whatever. And it was like that is, we made some great books together, and besides that, we just had great times. I mean, there was nothing I wouldn't do. You'd just show up at my house, be like, hey, man, you want to order a pizza? Yeah, sure, we'll order a pizza, you bastard. Always with your pizza, pepperoni pizza.
Well, yeah, it's
all
a
you can
loss of
eat.
potential.
Anyway.
I think that's why it's such a tragedy
Ah,
when a child dies. It's such a tragedy to everybody because, like, you never know what that person could have been. The future was still
man.
unwritten. Yeah, I always try to live
Bond
my.
was a good fella.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that too. But I've always tried to kind of live
Yeah.
my life in a sort of a stoic sort of way. Like I know the Bigfoot Knows Karate book. It kind of delves with some of that philosophical bend to things a little. And
Sure.
I've always kind of subscribed mostly to stoicism in that you change what you can, and you accept what you can't. And short of with some people, you can't be there 24/7. You can't be on their shoulder. So you kind of have to accept the things that
Yeah.
You couldn't have changed.
Well,
And
you
even
can't
and
save any.
yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
evidently, eventually, the things you can't like being upset about the thing you didn't do. It's like there's nothing you can do to change it. So you just have to like accept it
Yeah.
and move on.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
cannot,
so
you can't change anyone, you can't save anyone, and
yeah.
you can't change, save, and I mean, whatever, you can't. It's not your job to do that.
Yeah.
People have to find the strength
Yeah,
within
or ask for help.
themselves.
Ask for help
And
too, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, and if you put your hand out, I'm gonna grab it and we're gonna go figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll do it together. Sometimes, it's not, but yeah, it's one of those shitburger situations, man. And you just have to keep rolling with life. And that's just what I continue to do. I mean, it's just, I look at my life today and I look at my wife who's over there in the other room and my kids who are out of the house already and, doing their thing. And it's like, and I got, it's just such a good life. And, just never take it for granted. I mean, just never take it for granted. I'm very thankful every day. I'm not a religious guy. I'm not a spiritual person, but damn, if I'm not lucky, I'll put it
Yeah.
like that. So,
Oh,
it's
100%.
pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess when you went to where after you got the job going into marketing and doing that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
when did the first indie comic, like what were the comics you were reading when you were picking those comics up and collecting them with your dad?
When back in the day,
Yeah.
early 60s Fantastic Four, all early 60s
Oh,
Marvel stuff.
you must be
That's
excited
what
for
we were
that new
collecting.
movie.
Oh, okay. So I've given up on Marvel movies a while ago.
Oh,
I gotta be
really?
honest with
Oh,
you.
wow.
I have. I will go see Fantastic Four. I will go see
Yeah,
Fantastic
it
Four.
looks really good.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks dope, man. I gotta
Yeah.
check this out.
Yeah.
I have to. So I love, Kirby Fantastic Four run.
Nice.
I mean, the early stuff, especially. One of my very favorite books of all time is Fantastic Four 12 Thing versus the Hulk for the first time.
Nice. Beautiful.
It's like I love that era of Fantastic Four, especially like the first 15, 16 issues. Just the art style is so gorgeous at that point, and I don't know. It's just a thing.
Oh no, it's beautiful,
But
dude. You're right. It's beautiful.
yeah,
You can't top
it's
it.
just gorgeous, and you can't. And no matter how good all of us get, I mean, you just can't. That early Kirby '60s stuff. It's what they broke the mold. They broke the
Yeah,
mold with him. I
yeah.
mean, seriously, that's the end of it. I
What
mean,
kills me
it's
about
great.
Kirby is like today's arc of comic fans, like writers, artists, people, like they grew up emulating comics. So like what they grew up with are all these things: the Kirby, the Lees, the
Hmm.
Gene Collins, everybody. So it's like you grew up loving these creators. Like Kirby was like a cigar in his mouth, like little straps on your shoulders, working in an office every day. That didn't like have a love of comics. He just was good at drawing and then created this
Sure.
insane, like literally. It's so crazy when people create stuff in a vacuum. The comic world
Yeah.
before that was like what it was. The spirit
Captain
books.
America,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was like Captain America, Shazam, or Captain
the
Marvel,
timely
some
comics before.
romances,
Yeah.
yeah, westerns, romances, war comics, stuff like that,
Yeah, I guess Superman was
and
around before that, but like
Superman,
yeah,
sure.
but it's still like I don't know, it's just this crazy, like the sheer imagination that sort of poured out of this guy that just seemed like a really normal Joe that didn't really care about, like he did the work and he liked the work, but it's just pure, amazing worlds, like and I read that Abraham Riesling book about Stan Lee, True Believer, and it really sort of like hammers home a lot of the. I know there's a lot of controversy about who did what, but it seems like a lot of it was Kirby. Like with like he wasn't really told what to draw. He just built this amazing stuff. And I mean, the Fourth World kind of shows what he did when he was untethered. But it's still
Oh,
like
yeah.
strange, philosophical, nihilistic, like beautiful life, death, everything. It's just so gorgeous and it's insane. Like to me, the sheer level of his talent and what it came out of, which seemingly was nothing, is just insane. It blows me away every time I think about it on a level like that. So yeah, of course you
He,
would be blown away by it. It's amazing.
oh yeah, no, I mean Kirby, there's like yeah, I don't know if I have like a Mount Rushmore, but like if I did, Kirby would be there, Frank Miller would be there, for sure. I'm a big Miller fan, so
I am to a
uh
certain. I can pinpoint when I stopped being a Miller fan, but
yeah, when is that?
the Holy Terror book. That's about when it stopped for me.
What was Holy
That
Terror?
was the
That
one that
was
was
the
supposed
one
to be
that
a Batman versus Al Qaeda book, but then they changed it into just his own thing because they didn't want to tie Batman to it.
oh yeah, I never read it,
Yeah,
so that was one that I skipped. Yeah.
don't worry about it. Well, All
I'm
Star Batman was
yeah.
really where it was gone for me, but that was up to that point.
Yeah, no, that was not fun. But for me, like, I mean, his Sin City run
Oh
is
yeah,
just gold.
you can't take away all the other
Ronin
stuff.
is
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Ronin is phenomenal. I mean, Dark Knight Returns is a gem.
Oh, Daredevil.
The
Yeah.
Daredevil, yeah, I mean, and really the Daredevil run was cool, but it was Dark Knight Returns as a kid when I when I found Frank Miller,
Yeah.
and
I think that's most
and I
people.
went back and found yeah, and I went back and found Ronin, and I love Ronin.
Mm.
I mean, that is to me is just so cool. But Sin City is my favorite. Bar none, bottom line, I think Sin City is just oh, and 300 was phenomenal too. I won't like knock that at all either. But Sin City for me, hands down, is my favorite. Hard Goodbye is my favorite trade for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. I love noir. Okay, I love noir. And I'm a big mafia movie guy. I mean, like I can watch the shit out of that stuff. And so it all just kind of hits me in the same place. Like Batman, the Long Halloween. That was a wonderful book for somebody like me who likes
Mhm.
Batman, who likes Tim Sale, who likes that kind of vibe. And they also just kind of merged all that mafia stuff into it. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was gorgeous for a guy
And
like me. That was like the perfect comic.
they mined a lot of that for the Penguin show too, right? Like so there's some of that
Yeah,
in
I
there.
heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was good. It was a good show. If it definitely a crime show. I kind of like I'm looking forward to the James Gunn version of where it looks like we're gonna have fun superhero stuff again instead of gritty crime stuff that just has
sure.
a sheer painting of superhero stuff on it. I want
And
some fun superhero stuff. I'm very excited for Superman as well. So.
I want DC to be fun again.
Yeah,
You
me
know
too.
what I mean? Like their movies, I really do. My
The
favorite
Suicide
Superman
Squad
is
and
still,
Peacemaker were like, I was like, this is what I wanted on my superhero books. Their movies. So.
yeah. I mean, I'm a Christopher Reeve guy, you know,
Mhm.
and I really did like the Brandon Routh Superman a lot
Yeah, me
too.
too. Me
I was
too.
really, yeah, I was really bummed when Henry Cavill took the role. I was like, and then when I went to go see Man of Steel, I walked out of there just shaking my head and going, and they missed it, you
Yeah.
know, and I feel like they've been missing it pretty much ever since. Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman was very good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have not seen Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. I
Yeah,
have not
I
seen a lot of
hated
them.
the David Ayer one, but the James Gunn one I really,
Sure.
really liked. Yeah, the one, yeah. So
Yeah. There's a lot, you know, I mean, the last good Marvel movie that I remember going, yeah, that I watched was definitely Black Panther.
mm,
I thought that was phenomenal. But you know, it's just for me, I'm one of those people that gets to be too much of a good thing,
mm,
you know, and the Marvel movies it started becoming you had to watch this one to understand that one, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know,
yeah.
I when I was a kid, I would have freaked out for something like that. I would have been like, yes, the interconnecting universe that totally makes sense. I would have been like, I mean, it would have been cool. I don't watch much TV. Who's got time? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I do watch TV. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, but like I gotta make comics and I gotta, you know, cook dinner and I gotta do the, you know, whatever. I mean, there's just things to do in the evening. Watching Severance, it's amazing.
I've heard
Thoroughly
that, yeah.
enjoying that show.
I've heard
Yeah,
that.
God, that's a gem. But you know, but I mean, I don't get a whole lot of time to sit down and just watch a movie or watch TV, you know. So it's like when I do, I gotta pick and choose. And there's so much original content out there that is exciting to me that watching yet another Marvel movie just doesn't get me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like in the feels. So um beyond that, yeah, I mean, but Fantastic Four, I will go see Fantastic Four. Of course I'm gonna go see Fantastic Four. I'd be foolish not to go see
Yeah.
Fantastic
Well,
Four.
it looks
I
like
mean,
it
it
falls
looks
right
really
within that
good.
60s aesthetic too. Like they're keeping it there,
Uh-huh.
which
The
is really cool.
aesthetic is gorgeous in
Yeah.
those in that trailer. The James Gunn Superman movie, I'm excited for it. I hope
Yeah.
it's good. I will check that one out because I am a Superman fan. Maybe just because I didn't like the Cavill stuff does not mean I'm not excited. Crypto's a little much for
No,
me.
no,
I gotta be honest with you,
I'm all
but
there,
like
man.
I'm
I'm
not gonna.
super.
Yeah, no, it's not my. Here's the thing though. It's not my movie. I didn't write it. This is the story
Yeah.
they are going to present.
Yep.
I'm going to either enjoy it or I'm not. And that's going to be, I'm not, they should have done this, man. You know,
See,
like, no, that's
this is
lame,
the
you
right
know?
attitude that most people don't have. And this is what drives me nuts about a lot of fandom. It's like, if it's not for you, move on. Sorry, move
Yeah.
on. You know,
They missed with that one. They'll go
yeah.
make another one. And then you're going to
Yeah,
get pissed off because it doesn't fit in your head canon. Get over
exactly.
yourself, man. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Look, we all made a version of Star Wars that we thought was superior to
Yeah.
seven or eight or nine or
That's my
one
example.
or two or
Yeah.
three. Yes, I mean, like if I had gotten to do episode eight, I would have Snoke would have been the guy who killed that Palpatine killed to get the power in the first
Sure.
place, his
Yeah.
master. It would have been that dude. I mean, like
Yeah.
that would have been the smartest move.
Finn
They
would have
talked
been
about it in
Lando's
three.
son, and who knows, right? Like they would have
Yeah,
figured out
Finn was
something.
great. I
Yeah.
loved Finn being the stormtrooper. You know, I
Yeah.
thought that was a really cool twist on things. Yeah, I don't know, but it was just like, you know, there was things that, you know, whatever, we could do this, you know, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to do this because, you know, again, it wasn't my story to write.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
somebody's going to come up to me, hopefully one day somebody's going to come up to me and go, "Man, you should have done this in Bigfoot knows karate," and I'll just give them a hug. You know, I'll be like, "Hey, thanks for caring, bro."
You're
You
right.
know,
You're
that's
right.
cool.
Here's
Yeah.
here. Write it, and I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll just be like, man, I mean, that's not what we did, but like,
Yeah.
I thank you for giving a shit because, you know, that we meant something
Well,
to you
it's
to do
literally
that. That's
the
cool.
easiest thing in the world to sit there and after the fact and say this is what someone should have done. You don't have to take any risks. You don't have to put any work in. You don't have to sit
No.
there and write the novel, the movie, the book, the comic, the thing that you wish was rewritten. You literally can just critique what they did and say they should have done this. It's literally the laziest, simplest, easiest thing anyone can do to seem like you're creative without actually putting any work in that it takes to be creative. So it's like,
Well, it's
come
like the
on.
same thing. It's like the Sun and Monday morning quarterback. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That
Yeah.
concept, or you know, just it's wrestling. Wrestling's a great example of that. Man, they should have put the belt on this dude. You know, whatever. I mean,
I
that's so like
also am a
I like
professional wrestler, so I've heard this many times too.
So you know,
Yes.
I
Oh
mean,
yes.
it's like, oh, no, he lost once, he's buried. Shut
Yeah.
up. Just
Shut
enjoy
up.
the show.
Exactly.
Stop trying to learn the lingo and just enjoy what you're doing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Anytime
You listen to too, yeah.
Anytime
Go
a fan
ahead.
comes up to me and references like something in the WWE and they're like, and they use their real name, like, oh yeah, man, Adam Copeland is like really kicking ass up there. It's like, you mean Edge? Like, yeah, but like, it's like and then they start throwing all this lingo and it's like, it's fine. Obviously, you read the stuff online, but it's like,
Yeah.
there's a difference between being a fan and being in the industry. And not that I'm in the industry, I'm just an independent wrestler. I'm out there, like anybody else, but it's,
Well,
yeah,
here's a
just,
funny story for you.
sure.
This is going way back. This is back when Bon and I were still working together. We had done Latex Avenger, and we were working on a book called Masters of the Obvious together. And we were invited to a convention. I want to say it was like Victoria, Texas. Okay, and the publisher we were working with at the time was it was going to be there, and he was signing, and he was a former WWF wrestler, but he was like, enhancement talent is that the proper term for it,
Yeah.
but he had some matches and some wins and that sort of thing, built himself a name up in the Northeast, as a wrestler. And so
What was his name?
but I'm not going to say for the
Oh,
just for
okay.
the
Okay.
yeah, just for the, because
For sure.
I'll we'll talk offline.
Sure.
But nice guy, nice guy, nice guy. He was going to be there signing, so we were invited to come out and sign as well, and do the convention. But the per show promoters had me and Don and our publisher go out to dinner with them the night before with the other special guest, which happened to be Kevin Nash.
Wow.
Okay. And we all went to, what was it? Teppanyaki, like hibachi.
Yep.
Okay. We went to that. Okay. And so my publisher at the time says, he goes, hey, okay, so listen, don't geek out. Whatever you do, don't geek out. Okay, I'm not going to geek out, but you can't geek out. Don't geek out. You don't be asking a bunch of questions, Kevin Nash. Just let him be. So I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
So I didn't say a word. And then he says something to me. He's, so what do you do? And I'm like, I make this comic, he's got a rubber on his head and he fights crime. And he goes, that's pretty cool. I said, yeah, maybe we can get a photo tomorrow. And some publisher goes, gives me a look like, what? What did I say? I just said that, like, man, anyway, but he was a nice enough fella. He didn't say too much, and I didn't bother him too much because I was already warned not to. So,
That's
but I've
funny.
gotten to meet a lot of cool wrestlers over the years at the conventions, which has been a lot of fun. Another one whose name I won't say in order to not get him in any trouble, he and I went on a tequila binge in San Antonio one night, and just next day I walk in, he's got sunglasses on. He's not looking so hot. And I'm like, you doing all right, man? Well, he just didn't believe that, like, I'm not a big guy. I mean, look at my arms for crying out loud. And he just couldn't believe that somebody of my, my 5'10", my frame could drink that much tequila. And so, well, obviously I had
game
to,
knows game.
yeah,
100%,
exactly. So
You
we had a great
you
night
grow
that
up in
night. It was a lot
Texas.
of fun.
Come on. I mean,
Yeah, you got to drink your tequila. It's just the healthy way.
That's
Anyway,
right.
so
I'm a big tequila
yeah, it
fan.
was a great time. But I mean, I've gotten to meet some cool folks doing this stuff, and but as a wrestling fan, it's always been neat to, there's a few times that you actually go and interact with them because I mean, I'm not, hey man, I'm not going to do that. I'm just, if we happen to start talking, we happen to start talking. But Kevin Eastman was one of those situations where we kind of bumped into each other, started talking, had a beer at a Staple convention years ago. He's a nice guy, but I'm not going to, Mr. Eastman, will you sign my chest? I'm just not going to do that because how annoying would that have to be?
And the more you meet those guys, the more you realize they're just guys, like they're not.
Yeah, they're just people.
Yeah. And like I've met enough.
Yeah.
I've been on shows with a lot of wrestlers that I grew up watching and I've wrestled
Yeah.
a few of them, and you kind of like, you
Yeah.
get to the point and you're like, they're just a dude, he's just like you.
Just a dude.
He just had a level of success, that got him on TV, and that's really the only difference between you two. And
Yeah,
or for
absolutely.
whatever
Jake the Snake Roberts still needed borrow a light from me one time, so that was
That
years
sounds
ago.
about
I
right.
mean, yeah, he was a very nice fella.
That's hilarious. Well, those early books you referenced, like Latex, like Latex Avenger, like so what was the first one? Like what was your first indie book?
Yeah, my first indie book. Okay, so I did some stuff back in the early 90s, just helping out at a studio not far from where I lived across the street from NASA. Johnson Space Center. But then I didn't do my first book until I was 30, actually, and it
Wow.
was a book. It was a book called Latex Avenger. He had a sidekick, spermicidal foam lad, and together they repelled crime 99.9% of the time. So it was like I
Amazing.
said earlier. Yeah, it was like Family Guy on steroids turned up to 11. Man, it
And
was.
no
He
condom company reached out for potential
no,
no.
no, I didn't get any action there,
That's a
unfortunately,
shame.
but I would have taken the easy paycheck if I had got it.
Yeah.
Um, no, but I used to give out condoms with my logo on them and put them out on my table at conventions and
Wow.
stuff. That was a big win. People liked that. Well, some
That's
people liked that.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, fuck the ones who didn't. I mean, come on.
yeah,
You know,
no,
like
no, but it made for great stories, man. The ones who got pissed off were my favorite
really?
because years into it, I wrote a book that Bond illustrated. It was called Latex Avenger: The Wrath of Khan, and it was all about Latex Avenger and spermicidal foam lad Ruben. We'll just call him Ruben for the set for brevity. Uh, Latex and Ruben were forced to, or not forced, were going to the San Diego Comic Con or some variant thereof to go sign 8 by 10 glossies, right? And all the things that happened to them were stuff that happened to Bon and I, just with different characters and just with the volume
Yeah.
turned up real loud. You know, you're wrestlers, so you know
Oh
that
yeah.
phrase with the volume
Yep.
turned up real loud. That's what all this is. It's just true stories with Virgil. You remember Virgil, right?
I was on a tour with them
Virgil.
one time.
Okay.
He's an
So
interesting guy.
Virgil, yeah, interesting fella, man. Interesting at a Comic Con, that's for sure. He was kind of a grifter, you know.
Oh
He would
yeah.
really kind of work.
That
He would
was his
work people
whole
pretty hard
thing.
to.
His whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And there was a time where I was with this girl. We were at a convention. I was not working the con. It was just me and her going on a date, you know. And he's trying to like get $20, $40, 60, 80 out of me for this photo. And I got kind of pissed off with Virgil. And we had a couple of words and we took off, you know. And so when the comic came out, when Latex Avenger of the Wrath of Khan came out, all these things that had happened to me, including all the people who got irked off about the condoms, those stories happen in the comic book. Okay. So, Virgil was named the Mighty V. And, and Latex Avenger and Virgil have like this big old knockdown drag out. Latex
That's
Avenger
awesome.
gets his ass kicked and it all goes on YouTube. You know,
Awesome.
but it was all like, the silly stories and just stupid jokes and all the things that happened. So Latex Avenger was a lot of fun. I mean, it was superhero satire. It was a blast. It was
Yeah.
I did about 7 or 8 issues of that. Some of it, some of it palatable, some of it not. I mean, it
It
was
sounds
just always.
fun. Reminds me a lot of
Oh, it was
Rick
fun.
Veitch, like his weird superhero parody stuff.
It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun, I mean, some of it will never see the light of day ever again, but it will. But in 2022, myself and Drew Edwards from the book Halloween Man, we crossed the two characters over and we did Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger crossover, and that was cool to dust the character off for the first time in years. And it was drawn by a friend, Paula Hernandez, and the three of us all live in Austin anyway, so it was fun working on that book together. It really was. Drew wrote the story, sent me the story. I erased all the dialogue for Latex Avenger and Ruben and rewrote them in their tongue, so to speak. And it was just a great great fun book to do. I
Awesome.
mean, yeah, I mean, it was funny kind of doing that character in the modern lens because frankly, he doesn't play well in modern society, so the norms have changed and the pig that he is does not play well anymore. So it was a lot of fun to put him in his place in situations. I mean, he always kind of got put in his place anyway, but a little more so. And it was that shock, and the shock of it all was just a lot of fun to do. So yeah.
That's great.
And then there was Masters of the Obvious. Masters of the Obvious was a sci-fi satire. It was there was characters like Dr. Biclops. He has two eyes. The Visible Woman, you can't miss her. And like LeBron the Snapping Turtle, don't make him snap. You wouldn't like him when he snaps. And they flew around in a battle toaster called the USS Screensaver, having pop culture adventures throughout the galaxy. And so they felt like Darth Redenbacher and the My Little Jabronis, and there were the Puggalos, and it was just a whole thing. So It was a kind of Latex Avenger-ish, but more PG-13. It was a web comic. And then I did a thing for the Stan Lee Foundation called Excelsior, which was about the uphill adventures of a boy named Stan Lee, which suppose Stan Lee is a little kid getting bullied and like by big guy named Galakowitz who wore a purple T-shirt and was trying to eat his lunch, and he had a sidekick named Harold who carried a skateboard around wherever he went. You get the idea.
Yeah.
It's very punny stuff for Marvel. A lot of lawyers involved in that one. It was what it was.
Yeah.
There was.
Well, do you find like
So
do you get wrapped up into that, or is that between those two big companies? Like you're just the guy that they hired to do the thing. Like you don't have any.
I'm the one
stake
that
in
they
that.
tell you can't do that and you have to write around it. So
Oh, I see.
yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was my IP in the end of the day, but but we still had because it was for Stanley and then POW Entertainment was involved and there's Marvel lawyers looking at it all. I mean, it was part of the charm of taking the project. I'd never really been heavily edited before, so I had that experience. I'm good. And I never worked on a Y7 type project before. Had that experience. I'm good. So now I get to go back to doing what I want to do, which is all I really want to do. I do some cover work from time to time, which I enjoy that. And I've done some stuff for Halloween Man, and and I enjoy all of that. But getting to work on Bigfoot Knows Karate right now is really where I'm at. I mean, writing with Casey and drawing the book or working on the side stories. We did a side story recently called Bigfoot Knows Karate Hinagon that took place in feudal Japan, hundreds of years before the main storyline. And now we have another one coming out after chapter 3 that's going to be called God Killer. And that's going to be with art by Justin Adcock. So, there's a lot of really, I'm finishing chapter 3 up right now as we're heading into Kickstarter tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah,
Well,
so
this will
our
be out
launch
on
is
this will be out on this Monday. So
perfect. So
it'll be
the
up and up there.
yeah, perfect. The campaign will be up for about 5 days at this point, guys. So make it over to homebrewedcomics.com to go find the URL or the direct link to Bigfoot Knows Karate's Kickstarter page. Go to Kickstarter and just type in Bigfoot Knows Karate. It's really the only one you'll find it. So
There's
yeah, I
no
mean,
other Bigfoot knows kung fu knockoffs out there.
yeah,
No?
I hope not. Let's keep it
Well,
that way, right?
So I guess where did the impetus of this come from? Like I know we mentioned that you kind of got the title and worked backwards, but like you didn't just go
Sure.
the normal route, with having him just be, a Bigfoot that does karate. There's a lot of other stuff in
Well,
here. That is very much part of it, but there's like
yeah.
there's a whole other futuristic sort of economic thing going on as well, black ops kind of stuff, that it's all kind of like it certainly goes into some hard right turns, which I think is really interesting and surprising. So was this just sort of a combination of different things you liked and trying to get it all into a book, or is it just the way the
No,
story went in your head?
it's the way the story went in my head. Okay, so remember Latex Avenger and
Hmm.
Spermicidal Foam Lad? This character was going to live in that world.
Okay.
Okay, originally this was supposed to be a comedy. It was going to be like the Bigfoot gets attacked by a wolf or a bear or something like that and gets hurt, and the master finds him and takes him back to his place and trains him up, and then something happens to the master and he has to go out for revenge, and it was one of those things, and it was like he was going to have this Kane-like experience and then end up in some suburban mall somewhere, doing junior college and working at a hot dog on a stick, and it wasn't good. It really wasn't good. It
Yeah.
wasn't good. I mean, it just wasn't good. And so I shelved it. That was around 2014. And then I came back to it in around 2017, 18, 2017. I started doodling the character again. But he looked like this. He was all like gaunt in the eyes. You can't really see here. I'll pull this down. But like he looked like this,
Oh, yeah.
he was this warrior, and it was and I started thinking about it from a whole nother level of like, what if you were the only kind in your the only kind of you're only one of your kind, the only one of your species, nobody knew you existed and nobody cared. what would that do to you, your soul, and your psyche? By the way, martial arts, and that was really what kind of started this up for me. This lone figure who nobody gives a shit about him. Nobody believes that he's even real. And like, where does he go when he's not here? Where does this, and this is where it starts to become a combination of Casey and I, the concept of phasing in and out. Okay, so where does he go? Well, in a lot of Bigfoot myths, there's the concept of astral projection, which we bring that into the story, moving him through what we call the real and the unreal. All right, well, what is that unreal and why is it there? And why is this glowing purple lady standing there telling him to, until the father returns? What is this all about? That's a lot more than just, Bigfoot going, I mean, it's just more than that. I mean, I love martial arts movies and I love all that stuff, but we've seen it. This story needed to be different. It needed to be as different as its title. If it had just been what you expected it to be, then there was no point in reading
It'd be
it.
a one-trick pony. You read one story.
It would be a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we sold the first issue on Kickstarter, all we said was Godzilla versus Kong, Kill Bill with a twist, Bigfoot versus Cthulhu. Check it out. That's all we said, man. We didn't say anything about the last third of the book, really, or the last, quarter of the book. We didn't say anything about it because it didn't matter for an issue 1, nor did we want to explain anything. We wanted people to read it and go, and we wanted to deliver exactly what we promised we were going to deliver. But then there was the rest of this thing where they went, oh shit, what are they doing? I mean, and that was what we've been trying to build up to in each issue, have that, not shock it at each one, but, just raise the stakes each issue. And yeah, you've got a crazy cast of characters going on in there. I mean, beyond just this Bigfoot that knows karate and this Cthulhu that does martial arts. And you've got this guy in black with tentacles that just is a complete son of a bitch running around there. This girl with purple hair who's taken to the Bigfoot. What's up with the bunny? Where's he coming from? Who is this Lancaster cat with the red glowing eyes? There's a chupacabra with a shotgun whose life was spared by a freaking kaiju that blew himself up.
Yeah.
What is going on here? There's a lot of weird pieces and players going on in the book, and and it's all leading somewhere. And that's where, and that's what's fun about chapter 3. We start to give some answers and we start to resolve some of these questions that we've been building up. Not that there won't be more questions. Sorry, I really like how Lost paced its story, and was good at throwing out questions as they went. But yeah, I mean, we're starting, to show you what this whole thing is really all about in chapter 3, and we get that momentum. We've got that momentum going, and now we can really kind of, resolve this thing over the next couple of issues. So it's gonna be nice.
Yeah, the adherence to the cryptids, I think, is very fun. The Mothman making a little appearance in there, and other characters like that is such a fun little twist. So you always had a sort of affinity for that stuff, like cryptozoology, or is it just something that fell into the air? No, you weren't a Bigfoot believer from birth. You weren't.
No. I'm a city boy. We don't do that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. No, I don't believe in. No. I mean, but it's like, but I find it fascinating now as I started doing research and all this stuff and working with Casey on coming up all these different creatures to work with. It's pretty incredible. There's a lot of iterations of the same thing going on throughout history.
Yep.
And I find that fascinating that every culture, for the most part, has a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or a Hennegan or a Alabama white thing or whatever you want to call it. They all have this creature running around in the forest somewhere. Hey, I saw him. Did you really? They all have that. How cool is that? And so that gets your wheels turning a lot as a writer. I mean, well, how can we play with that? How can we use that? And it's fun.
Yeah,
It really is. It's fun.
Jane Goodall said that she believes that there could be something like a Bigfoot out there. So if she believes it, then I think
Yeah.
if the leading primatologist in the world believes it, then hey, who are we to say it's not?
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not here to argue. 100% not here to argue. Jane Goodall can, yeah, go Jane. I'm hip, you know.
Yeah, it could be a cross marketing platform. You have Jane Goodall
Sure.
pimping the book. Well,
I like it.
how much do you envision this? Like, how long do you see this going on for? Do you have an end in sight, or is it like to go as long as till the wheels fall off?
Well, we've got, every issue we kind of jump the rails a little bit further and a little bit further. This fifth issue, the fifth issue will wrap up this first arc,
Mhm.
and that really sets the universe into motion for who this Bigfoot character is. We've got another arc planned out that'll happen pretty much after this one is done, that Casey's helming that one, and we've been doing the one shots, or we did a one shot. We're gonna have another one coming up here soon. And so I think the next arc I will not draw it. I think I'm gonna tap out on the next arc and do a couple of one shots on my own.
Nice.
And just have some fun with it. But I think the story allows it, since we've already kind of shot backwards into feudal Japan, and what I said to you about the different cultures having the same concept throughout time, uh, we got a lot of plentiful, fertile soil to play with, and in terms of where a Bigfoot can be and what he can do. Excuse me, throughout history. So I was fighting that burp back for a minute there. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot we can do with it, and I think that those who stick with the comic, especially where we're going with chapter 3 with all the answers you're getting and where we're really going with this, I think all that will help you better understand the side stories that are one shots and you can read them and stand alone, but you will find nuanced pieces going on within the side stories that only help enhance the main storyline. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. I'm really excited for chapter 3. We've got some great covers. We have a Virgin variant deluxe edition and a Virgin and a regular deluxe edition and a holofoil by Louise Thomas, and just beautiful stuff all the way around. It's the deluxe editions are fun. Can I talk about those real quick?
Oh, talk about everything. Yeah, it's great. The
Oh yeah, sure.
and on
So,
I love the one shots too, like all the little or the one pagers at the end that have all the different arts and like different
Mhm.
artists doing their takes on the character and stuff. It's very, very cool.
So we've been really fortunate because we've received over 250 plus pieces of fan art for the comic.
Wow.
It's an really unbelievable to me how many people have taken the time to draw this character, and so really grateful for that for sure. And so what we do is we do a deluxe edition and the campaigns. We do the regular, just the story, and then we do the deluxes that have an art gallery as well as a director's commentary video track that goes along with the comic that you can read along with
Nice.
it. And yeah, I've always loved director's commentary, special features on DVDs. I think it's a lost art form now with
I agree.
streaming.
I'm a big
Yeah.
physical media guy. I have tons of Blu-rays and
Oh
stuff like that.
yeah.
So for that reason, it's
Yeah.
like going to art school and listening to those things or film school. It's good. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
So to me it is it is lost, and so it's something that we get to bring back in the comic in some form or fashion. So it's cool, and there are some people who are like, they want all the extras, and what we got that has a different cover and has all the extras, and then for those who want the foil, we got the foil. Those have been very popular over the last couple campaigns. I've been offering the foil editions, and and Luis, he's come through big time on this one. We got the cover by Adam Caswell. If y'all have read Bigfoot before, Bigfoot Knows Karate before, Adam Caswell's work. And my old friend Jay Hausa is doing a cover as well. So pretty cool stuff. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to do the metal cover or not. I have till tomorrow to really make a determination of
Oh,
whether that's
really?
going to
That's
happen or not.
interesting.
Probably going to do it. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of pressure for some folks that they want the metal covers.
The metal
So
cover, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll
Even
see.
like the old
We shall
like
see.
the cards and stuff. It's just so cool. Like it's like such a great.
Oh yeah,
There's
man.
a lot of value. Like I have friends that do Kickstarter books. Troy Little and Brenda Little, or Brenda Hickey. They're a married couple, but they both worked. I think he did the Powerpuff Girls comics forever. He did the art, and she did the My Little
Okay.
Pony comics forever. They started their own imprint, and they do Pegamoose Press, I think it's called, and they do
Okay.
all this stuff online, and they offer, and like you talking to them about their process and what they offer and how they do it. It's a lot of this sort of stuff. It said like all this extra stuff really adds value, and it really makes your stuff stand out. So you're really doing it right. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you
Yeah,
so
it's
much.
beautiful.
And we really try to make the books look good too,
Oh yeah, the book's beautiful.
with the nice paper and the cardstock covers and stuff like that. We really want them to, I mean, look, it's Kickstarter, it's indie comics, it's not cheap. We get that. If you're going to spend that money, you might as well get a solid package, delivered, so to speak. So,
Yeah, no,
make
it's
the
definitely
book
one
look
of the
good. And
nicest production of a book I've ever seen from
oh,
somebody
well, thank you.
exclusive.
And
So
I want to shout out my printer real quick, Comics Wellspring. They do my printing and always done a fantastic job. So thank you to Pam and Melanie and Dan and Brandon and all the rest of the gang over there. You're all aces in my book. So there you go. That's my pitch for them.
awesome. Would you have any appearances or anything else coming up besides the Kickstarter you want to talk about?
Yeah, man. So we launched, okay, so tomorrow night, which you all miss, but we have the live launch party over on Instagram. And then I've got several podcasts between now and the end of the campaign, but I will be at Dallas Fan Expo at the end of this month, the 29th, 30th, and then the 1st of June. So I'll be there all weekend. With the comic. And then June 14th, I will be at Big Alpaca Comics in San Antonio, Texas. So I'll be signing copies of Bigfoot Knows Karate there. Sometime in June, or no, in July, you'll find me at Greater Austin Comic Con. And then I'm not going to continue to try and guess. I can't remember all the rest of them. I have about 8, 9 appearances this year. So, but yeah, that's where you'll find me over the next couple of months at least.
Awesome. And I mean, all that's probably on Homebrewed Comics or on your own comic
Yeah,
books.
or you can go to BigfootKnowsKarateComics.com. You can find my appearances over there as well. So,
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, thank you so
yeah.
much, Dan. This is a pleasure.
Hey, it was a pleasure talking with you, Andre. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
No problem. And look forward to checking out the rest of the books.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right.
There you have it, my conversation with Dan Price, the creator of A Scrappy Little Book, a word he seemed to glom onto, and for good reasons. It definitely applies to him and to the creative output that he is bringing, and that is Bigfoot Knows Karate, issue 3, now available. Kickstarter, you can find that on BigfootKnowsKarate.com. You can find it on Homebrewed Comics website. That's out there, and it's well worth reading and checking out. It's a fun book, and if you really appreciate people who love comics out there making their own comics and doing everything they can to get their output to the world, then you will love this book. It certainly has a lot of imagination, a lot of great art, and a lot of fun. And I feel like it's well worth your time to check out. So go check that out. And check out the other works from Dan. Check him out at his conventions. And yeah, we had a great talk. I'm really glad that he opened up, told his full story, and we got the full picture because you don't want to shy away from that dark stuff. The dark stuff is very much a part of life, and to get there to talk about his struggle, dealing with his father's suicide, and to come out the other side with forgiveness, I think it's kind of heartwarming. I think it's important that we all remember that, and also sometimes it acts as a bit of a reminder to check in with those around you that you think may be hurting, because you never know, right? You do truly never know. So do that, and and enjoy your life. Do what you can, help those you can help, and enjoy your own life as well, because you never know how much time you got with those you love. So, hey, get out there, enjoy, love life, be a part of it, and listen to this podcast. Those are the 3 keys. It's, love life, love your friends, and love this podcast. That's all you really need to remember. So, do all those things, and you'll be in good working order. But thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, read some comics, and if you're in my area of the world, it's starting to get nice out there. It's summer, so go out, get some sunlight, read a book under a tree, and just live, damn it. Just live. The Graphic Histories podcast is a proud partner of the United Federation of Podcasts.